My Aunt's Legacy, A Tale of Betrayal and Triumph. In the bustling city of Lisbon, Portugal, in the year 2010, my parents, Mariana and Tomás Almeida, walked out of my life when I was just 10 years old. They left me with my Aunt Sofia, a fiercely independent woman who had built a fortune through her vineyard empire in the Douro Valley. For 15 years, I heard nothing from them, no calls, no letters, not even a whisper. I grew up under Aunt Sofia's care in her elegant villa overlooking the Tagus River, learning resilience, love, and the value of loyalty. In April 2025, everything changed. Aunt Sofia passed away, leaving me, Clara Mendez, her entire estate, valued at €1.8 million, along with her sprawling vineyard estate and a charming townhouse in Porto. The news spread like wildfire across the Iberian Peninsula. Suddenly, Mariana and Tomás resurfaced, arriving unannounced at my doorstep in Lisbon, their smiles as hollow as the promises they'd broken years ago. It was 3 p.m. Western European time, and their sudden reappearance on that sunny spring afternoon felt like an ambush. They claimed they wanted to reconnect, but their true intentions soon unraveled. My parents, now living in a modest flat in Madrid, Spain, had heard of my inheritance. They petitioned for guardianship rights, arguing I was too young, at 25, to manage such wealth. Their audacity stunned me. They had sold their parental rights to Aunt Sofia in 2010 for a quick €10,000, a fact I only learned later. They spun tales of regret, but their eyes gleamed with greed, eyeing the vineyard's profits and the Porto townhouse. I turned to my lawyer, Beatriz Costa, a sharp-witted woman based in Coimbra. Beatriz uncovered Aunt Sofia's meticulous planning. In 2012, Sofia had secretly adopted me, ensuring I was legally hers. She documented every attempt by Mariana and Tomás to extort money over the years, letters, emails, even a failed lawsuit in 2018. These records, stored in a safe in her vineyard office, were Sofia's shield to protect me. Beatriz presented this evidence in a Lisbon court, dismantling my parents' claims in a single hearing on June 15, 2025. Their schemes didn't stop there. Mariana tried to manipulate me with tearful pleas at a cafe in Alfama, claiming she'd been forced to leave me. Tomás attempted to forge documents suggesting Aunt Sofia's will was invalid. Each move they made only deepened my resolve. I didn't need vengeance through anger or violence. Instead, I honored Aunt Sofia by thriving, managing the vineyard, expanding its reach to markets in Brazil and Japan, and turning the Porto townhouse into a community art space. By August 2025, the courts ruled definitively in my favor. Mariana and Tomás were barred from contacting me, their scams exposed. I stood in the vineyard that autumn, the Douro River shimmering under the Portuguese sun, feeling peace wash over me. Family, I learned, isn't defined by blood but by those who stand by you. Aunt Sofia's love was my true inheritance, and living well, free from their manipulation, was my ultimate triumph. This isn't a story of getting even. It's about rising above betrayal, finding strength, and building a life that honors those who truly matter. The Weight of Triumph. Shadows and New Horizons. August 2028, A Moment of Peace. The sun dipped low over the Douro Valley on August 26, 2028, casting a golden glow across the vineyard that had become my sanctuary. It was 6:30 p.m. Western European time, and I, Clara Mendez, stood on the stone terrace of my cottage, a modest yet charming home nestled among the grapevines. The air carried the scent of ripening grapes and the faint hum of cicadas. 3 years had passed since my Aunt Sofia's death, and 2 since the Lisbon court had barred my parents, Mariana and Tomás Almeida, and my cousin Leandro from meddling in my life. Their schemes to seize Sofia's €1.8 million estate, her vineyard, her Porto townhouse, her legacy, had crumbled. I'd won not by stooping to their level but by building a life that honored Sophia's love. The vineyard, now called Vinha Sofia, was thriving. Our organic wines had earned accolades in Cape Town and Bordeaux, and orders poured in from Brazil, Japan, and Germany. The Porto townhouse, transformed into the Sofia Art Haven, hosted monthly exhibitions, drawing artists and visitors from across Europe. My youth program, Sofia's Roots, had trained over 50 young people in sustainable winemaking, with some joining my team. My lawyer, Beatriz Costa, had become a dear friend, and Ines Silva, the vineyard's manager, was my partner in turning Sofia's vision into reality. I'd found peace, or so I thought. September 2028, a ripple from the past. On September 12, 2028, at 10 a.m. Western European Time, I was in the vineyard's office, reviewing export contracts, when Ines handed me a letter. The envelope bore a postmark from Seville, Spain, and the handwriting was unfamiliar. I opened it, expecting a business inquiry. Instead, it was from someone named Elena Vargas, claiming to be my mother's sister. The letter was brief but unsettling. Dear Clara, I am your aunt, Mariana's younger sister. I know about the pain my sister and Tomas caused you. I've been estranged from them for years, living quietly in Seville. I recently learned of your inheritance and your parents' schemes. I have no part in their actions, but I have information that might protect you from new threats. May we meet? I'll be in Lisbon next week, sincerely, Elena Vargas. I sat back, the letter trembling in my hands. Another relative? After Leandro's betrayal, I was skeptical. My parents had burned every bridge, and now a supposed aunt was reaching out. Was this another ploy? I called Beatriz, who was in her Coimbra office. By 11:30 a.m. Western European Time, we were on a video call. Beatriz's sharp eyes scanned a copy of the letter I'd sent her. We'll verify her identity, she said. But don't meet her alone. If she's genuine, she'll understand caution. Beatriz's team dug into Elena's background. By September 15th, they confirmed she was indeed Mariana's sister, 42 years old, a librarian in Seville who had cut ties with my parents in 2010 after a dispute over money. She had no criminal record, no ties to Leandro or Javier Ruiz, the lawyer my parents had used. Still, I wasn't ready to trust. We arranged a meeting at a public cafe in Lisbon's Chiado district on September 20, 2028, at 2 p.m. Western European Time. Beatriz would join me. The meeting with Elena. The cafe was lively, filled with the clink of coffee cups and the hum of conversation. Elena arrived on time, a petite woman with kind eyes and a nervous smile. She carried a worn leather satchel and introduced herself softly. Clara, thank you for meeting me. I know this must feel strange. Beatriz sat beside me, her presence a quiet reassurance. Elena explained that she distanced herself from Mariana after my parents borrowed €5,000 from her in 2008 and never repaid it. She'd followed my story through news articles about Vinha Sofia and learned of my parents' lawsuits. Last month, she said, I overheard a conversation at a Seville bar. A man named Diego Morales was talking about you. He claimed to be a business partner of Tomas, planning to approach you with a deal to buy into the vineyard. I think it's another scheme. My stomach tightened. Diego Morales was a name I didn't know, but the pattern was familiar. I thanked Elena, promising to stay in touch, and Beatriz took her contact details. As we left the cafe at 3:30 p.m. Western European Time, Beatriz was already on her phone, tasking her investigator to track down Diego Morales. If he's linked to your parents, she said, we'll stop him before he starts. October 2028, the shadow grows. By October 5, 2028, Beatriz's investigator had results. Diego Morales was a small-time investor in Madrid, known for shady real estate deals. He'd met Tomas in 2027 at a gambling club, and they'd stayed in contact. Phone records show Diego had called Leandro in August 2028, suggesting they were plotting together. The deal Elena mentioned was a proposal to buy a 40% stake in Vinha Sofia for €500,000, a fraction of its value, with a contract that would give Diego control over key decisions. It was a backdoor to siphon profits. On October 10, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, Diego emailed me, posing as a legitimate investor. His message was polished, offering a partnership to expand Vinha Sofia into Spain. I forwarded it to Beatriz, who crafted a response declining the offer but inviting him to a meeting in Porto on October 20 to discuss terms. It was a trap. Beatriz hired a private investigator to pose as my business advisor, and we planned to record the conversation to expose Diego's intentions. The meeting took place at a conference room in Porto's Ribeira district, overlooking the Douro River. Diego, a stocky man in his 50s, arrived at 11 a.m. Western European Time, exuding false charm. He spoke of mutual benefits and scaling the brand, but when pressed for details, he grew evasive. Our investigator, posing as my advisor, asked pointed questions about his funding sources. Diego stammered, mentioning investors in Madrid but refusing to name them. The recorder caught it all. By noon, we ended the meeting, and Diego left, unaware we'd gathered enough to report him to the Portuguese authorities for attempted fraud. November 2028, a new ally. Elena's warning had been a turning point. I invited her to the vineyard on November 3, 2028, at 2 p.m. Western European Time, wanting to thank her properly. She arrived with a small gift, a book of Portuguese poetry, inscribed with a note, for Clara, who carries Sofia's strength. Over lunch on the terrace, she shared more about her life. She'd never married, had no children, and had built a quiet existence surrounded by books. I envied Sofia, she admitted. She saw your potential and gave you what Mariana never could, love. I realized Elena was no threat, she was a kindred spirit, someone else hurt by my parents' selfishness. I offered her a role as a consultant for Sofia's Roots, helping design educational materials for the program. She hesitated, citing her life in Seville, but by the end of the visit, she agreed to work remotely, visiting the vineyard monthly. It was the start of a cautious but genuine bond. 2029, Growth and Challenges. By January 2029, Vinha Sofia was a rising star in the wine world. At a trade show in Paris on January 15, 2029, at 3 p.m. Central European Time, our latest vintage won a gold medal, beating out competitors from Tuscany and Bordeaux. The Sofia Art Haven hosted its first international exhibition in March, featuring artists from Portugal, Spain, and Brazil. Sofia's Roots expanded to Faro, training 20 more youths in sustainable agriculture. I hired a new coordinator, Miguel Santos, a passionate agronomist from Evora, to oversee the program's growth. But success brought scrutiny. In April 2029, a tabloid in Lisbon published a story titled The Heiress and the Hidden Past, dredging up my parents' lawsuits and hinting at family secrets. The article, written by a journalist named Rita Pereira, suggested I'd manipulated Aunt Sofia's will. It was nonsense, but it stirred public curiosity. Social media buzzed, with some posts on platforms like X calling me a greedy heiress. The vineyard's reputation held strong, but the personal attacks hurt. Beatriz traced the story's source to Leandro, who'd fed Rita half-truths. On April 20, 2029, at 10 a.m. Western European Time, we issued a press release clarifying the facts. Sofia's adoption was legal, her will ironclad, and my parents' claims had been dismissed. I gave an interview to a respected Lisbon newspaper, sharing my story, not out of vengeance, but to set the record straight. The public response was overwhelming. Letters and emails poured in, many from people who'd faced similar family betrayals, thanking me for my resilience. June 2029, a global stage. In June 2029, I was invited to speak at a sustainability conference in Cape Town, South Africa, on June 10 at 2 p.m. South Africa Standard Time, South Africa Standard Time. The topic was Legacy Through Impact, and I shared how Sophia's roots empowered youth while preserving the land. The audience, including winemakers from Australia and Chile, gave a standing ovation. Backstage, I met Amara Ndlovu, a South African vintner who proposed a collaboration, a joint wine project blending our grapes with hers. It was a chance to take Vinha Sophia global. I returned to Portugal on June 15, 2029, energized. But on June 20, at 8 a.m. Western European Time, Beatriz called with news. Diego Morales had been arrested in Madrid for fraud unrelated to my case, but his records mentioned a Plan B involving Leandro and a hacker named Sofia Mendez, no relation, but a cruel coincidence. They tried to access the vineyard's financial systems remotely. Our cybersecurity team, hired after Diego's initial approach, had blocked the attempt, but it was a reminder that my parents' shadow lingered. 2030, the turning point. By January 2030, the vineyard's success was undeniable. We exported to 12 countries, and Sophia's roots operated in 3 Portuguese cities, with plans for Seville and Bordeaux. The Sofia Art Haven was a cultural hub, hosting a festival in March 2030 that drew 5,000 visitors. Elena had become a fixture in my life, spending summers at the vineyard and helping design a literacy program for Sophia's roots. But the past wasn't done with me. On February 10, 2030, at 11 a.m. Western European Time, I received a call from a detective in Lisbon. Leandro had been detained for attempting to bribe a court official to reopen the 2028 case. Interrogations revealed he'd acted alone. Mariana and Tomas had cut ties with him after their funds dried up. The detective shared something else. My parents were living in a rundown apartment in Malaga, Spain, their schemes having left them broke and isolated. I felt no satisfaction, only a quiet resolve. On February 15, 2030, I wrote them a letter, not to gloat, but to close the chapter. Mariana and Tomas, you chose greed over family, and I've built a life despite you. I wish you no harm, but I ask you to stay away. My home is with those who love me, Sophia, Beatriz, Elena, and the community I've created. This is the last you'll hear from me, Clara. I mailed it and let go. August 2030, a legacy secured. By August 26, 2030, at 7 p.m. Western European Time, I stood in the vineyard, now expanded with a new tasting room designed by a local architect, Ana Ribeiro. The collaboration with Amara Ndlovu had launched, and our first joint vintage was set for release in 2031. Sophia's Roots had trained 200 youths, and the Sofia Art Haven was planning a global tour of its artists. I'd started a foundation, Sophia's Light, to fund education and sustainability projects worldwide. My cottage was filled with laughter that evening as Beatriz, Elena, Ines, and Miguel joined me for dinner. We toasted to Aunt Sophia, whose love had carried me through betrayal and doubt. My parents, Leandro, and their schemes were distant memories, powerless against the life I'd built. Revenge wasn't in their defeat, it was in my joy, my purpose, and the family I'd chosen. As the Douro River shimmered under the stars, I knew Sophia was watching. Her legacy wasn't just the vineyard or the wealth, it was me, standing tall, living well, and giving back. That was the triumph that mattered. Beyond the Valley. August 2030, a foundation takes root. The evening of August 26, 2030, was warm in the Douro Valley, Portugal. At 8 p.m. Western European Time, Clara Mendez sat on the terrace of my cottage at Vinha Sophia, the vineyard I'd inherited from my Aunt Sophia. The air was thick with the scent of late summer grapes, and the Douro River glittered under the fading light. Dinner with my chosen family, Beatriz Costa, my lawyer and friend, Elena Vargas, my rediscovered aunt, Ines Silva, the vineyard's manager, and Miguel Santos, the Sophia's Roots coordinator, had been a celebration of milestones. Vinha Sofia's wines were now sold in 12 countries. The Sofia Art Haven in Porto was a cultural beacon, and Sofia's roots had trained 200 youths in sustainable winemaking. My newest venture, the Sofia's Light Foundation, launched earlier that month, aimed to fund education and sustainability globally. But as the laughter faded and my guests left, I felt a restless energy. The battles with my parents, Mariana and Tomas Almeida, and my cousin Leandro were behind me, their schemes buried by court rulings and their own failures. Yet, success brought new pressures. The foundation's launch had drawn global attention, and with it came expectations and vulnerabilities. At 10 p.m. Western European Time, I sat at my desk, reviewing an email from Amara Ndlovu, my South African collaborator. Our joint wine project was set for a 2031 release, but she proposed a bold expansion, a vineyard partnership in Stellenbosch, South Africa. It was thrilling but daunting. Could I stretch Sofia's legacy across continents without losing its heart? September 2030, a new invitation. On September 10, 2030, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, an unexpected letter arrived at the vineyard's office. It was from Luca Bianchi, an Italian winemaker based in Tuscany. He'd tasted Vinha Sofia's wines at a Paris trade show and invited me to speak at a sustainability summit in Florence on October 5, 2030. Luca's vineyard, Tenuta Luce, was renowned for its eco-friendly practices, and he wanted to explore a collaboration. I hesitated. Italy was a new frontier, and with the foundation and Amara's project, my plate was full. But Beatriz, during a call at 11 a.m. Western European Time, urged me to go. This is how legacies grow, Clara. Sofia would have jumped at this. I agreed to attend, booking a flight to Florence. Meanwhile, Ines reported a surge in orders from Australia, where a Sydney distributor, Harper and Company, had placed a €200,000 order. On September 15, at 3 p.m. Western European Time, I video-called Harper's CEO, Olivia Harper, who proposed hosting a Vinha Sofia tasting event in Sydney in November 2030. The opportunities were dizzying, but a quiet voice reminded me to stay grounded. Aunt Sofia's strength was in her focus. Could I maintain mine? October 2030, shadows resurface. The Florence summit was a whirlwind. On October 5, 2030, at 2 p.m. Central European Time, I stood before 500 attendees at a historic villa overlooking the Arno River. My speech, Legacy Through Sustainability, shared how Sofia's roots empowered youth while preserving the land. Luca Bianchi, a charismatic man in his 40s, approached me afterward, his eyes bright with ideas. Clara, let's create a joint vintage, Portuguese and Tuscan grapes, a symbol of shared values. We spent the evening at a trattoria, sketching plans for a wine called Lucy Sofia. By 10 p.m. Central European Time, I was exhilarated but cautious. Partnerships required trust, and my past had taught me to tread carefully. Back in Portugal on October 10, at 8 a.m. Western European Time, Beatriz called with troubling news. A blogger in Madrid, Carla Ortiz, had posted on X, claiming Vinha Sofia was exploiting workers. The post linked to an anonymous source alleging low wages and poor conditions. It was a lie. Our workers earned above-average salaries, with benefits like housing subsidies. Beatriz traced the post to an IP address linked to a cafe in Malaga, where my parents lived. It's not Leandro this time, she said. It feels like Mariana or Tomas, stirring trouble. I was shaken but not surprised. On October 12, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, I met with Ines and Miguel at the vineyard. We drafted a public statement, sharing our labor practices and inviting journalists to tour the facilities. On October 15, a Lisbon newspaper published a glowing article about our worker welfare, quashing the rumors. But the incident was a reminder. My parents, though powerless, were still watching, waiting for a misstep. November 2030, the Sydney Venture. The Sydney tasting event was set for November 20, 2030. I arrived in Australia on November 18th, at 7 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, jet-lagged but excited. Olivia Harper greeted me at a waterfront venue in Circular Quay, where Vinha Sophia's wines were displayed alongside Australian vintages. The event, attended by 200 guests, was a success, with orders doubling to €400,000. At 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Olivia pulled me aside. "Clara, there's a market here for your foundation. Let's bring Sophia's roots to Australia, train Indigenous youth in viticulture." The idea was inspiring, but it came with risks. Australia was a new continent, with different regulations and cultural nuances. I promised to explore it and returned to Portugal on November 25th, at 6 a.m. Western European Time. Over dinner with Elena that evening, I shared my hesitation. "Sophia took risks," Elena said, sipping wine. "But she always planned. Do your homework, Clara, and you'll be fine." December 2030, a new threat. On December 5, 2030, at 10 a.m. Western European Time, Beatriz called with urgent news. A Lisbon law firm had received an anonymous tip claiming Vinha Sofia was evading taxes. The Portuguese tax authority launched an audit, scheduled for January 2031. Beatriz's team found no evidence of wrongdoing. Our books were meticulous, but the timing was suspicious. A private investigator uncovered a link. The tip came from a burner phone traced to Malaga. "It's them again," Beatriz said. "Mariana and Tomas are desperate." The audit was a distraction, pulling me from foundation work. On December 10th, I met with our accountant, Sofia Pereira, in Porto. She confirmed our compliance but warned that audits could drag on, damaging our reputation. I decided to go on the offensive. On December 15th, at 11 a.m. Western European Time, we hosted an open house at the vineyard, inviting tax officials, journalists, and community leaders. The transparency paid off. The audit concluded on January 10, 2031, with no issues found. But the stress lingered. My parents' persistence was a shadow I couldn't fully escape. 2031, a global leap. By January 2031, the Sophia's Light Foundation was gaining traction. We funded schools in rural Portugal and a clean water project in Mozambique. On January 20th, at 3 p.m. South Africa Standard Time, I flew to Stellenbosch to finalize the vineyard partnership with Amaran Lovu. Our joint vintage. August 2032, the weight of success. On August 26, 2032, at 8:30 p.m. Western European Time, the Douro Valley glowed under a crescent moon. I, Clara Mendez, stood in the glass-walled tasting room of Vinha Sofia, my Aunt Sophia's vineyard, now a global name. The launch of Luz e Sofia, a wine blending Portuguese and Tuscan grapes, had drawn winemakers, artists, and friends from across the world. Luca Bianchi, my Italian partner, toasted to our collaboration, while Amaran Lovu joined via video from Stellenbosch, South Africa. Elena Vargas, my aunt from Seville, now lived at the vineyard, her quiet wisdom a daily gift. The Sophia's Light Foundation was funding projects in Brazil and Mozambique, and Sophia's Roots was training youths in Australia. The Sophia Art Haven in Porto was planning a Tokyo exhibition for 2033. My parents, Mariana and Tomas Almeida, and cousin Leandro were shadows of the past, their schemes buried by time and my triumphs. Yet, success felt like a double-edged sword. At 10 p.m. Western European Time, as guests departed, I sat with Beatriz Costa, my lawyer and friend. "Clara," she said, "you're a target now. The bigger you grow, the more eyes are on you." Her words lingered as I walked to my cottage, the Douro River a silver ribbon below. September 2032, a new challenge. On September 10, 2032, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, Ines Silva, the vineyard's manager, rushed into my office. A competitor in Porto, Vinhos Norte, had accused Vinha Sofia of copying their organic wine formula. Their CEO, Rafael Gomes, filed a complaint with the Portuguese Wine Board, demanding an investigation. The accusation was baseless. Our methods were Sophia's, refined over decades, but the timing was suspicious. Beatrice's investigator, on September 12 at 11 a.m. Western European Time, found a connection. Rafael had met a woman matching Mariana's description in Malaga weeks earlier. I refused to let this unsettle me. On September 15, at 2 p.m. Western European Time, I met with the wine board in Lisbon, presenting our production records. By September 20, the complaint was dismissed, but Rafael's smear campaign spread online, with ex-posts calling Vinha Sofia a corporate thief. I countered with transparency, hosting a live stream on September 25 at 3 p.m. Western European Time, showcasing our process. The public response was overwhelming, orders surged, proving trust in our brand. October 2032, a Japanese venture. The Tokyo exhibition was set for March 2033, but on October 5, 2032, at 10 a.m. Japan Standard Time, I received a video call from Aiko Tanaka, a curator in Tokyo. She proposed a cultural exchange. Japanese artists would exhibit at the Sofia Art Haven, while our Porto artists showcased in Tokyo. Aiko also suggested a Vinha Sofia tasting event in Japan, tapping into their growing wine market. I flew to Tokyo on October 15, arriving at 7 a.m. Japan Standard Time, to meet Aiko and her team. The city's energy was electric, but negotiations were complex. Japanese regulations required new certifications for our wines. On October 20, at 2 p.m. Japan Standard Time, I signed a deal with Aiko's gallery and a distributor, Hiroshi Kato. Back in Portugal by October 25, at 8 a.m. Western European Time, I briefed Ines and Miguel Santos, the Sofia's Roots coordinator. We began adapting our wines for Japan, a process that stretched our resources but promised growth. November 2032, a personal blow. On November 3, 2032, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, Elena fell ill during a vineyard walk. A doctor in Porto diagnosed a heart condition, requiring surgery. At 3 p.m. Western European Time, I sat by her hospital bed, her hand in mine. "You're my family, Clara," she whispered. The surgery, scheduled for November 10, was successful, but Elena's recovery meant she couldn't travel. I hired a nurse, Maria Lopez, to care for her at the vineyard, and adjusted my schedule to stay close. The scare shook me. Elena was my link to a past I'd reclaimed, and her vulnerability reminded me of Sofia's sudden loss. On November 15, at 6 p.m. Western European Time, I wrote in my journal, "Sofia's legacy is people, not just wine or art. I can't lose sight of that." January 2033, a global test. By January 2033, the Sofia's Light Foundation faced a crisis. A partner in Mozambique reported mismanagement of our clean water funds, costing €50,000. On January 10, at 1 p.m. South Africa Standard Time, I flew to Maputo to investigate. The issue was a corrupt local official, whom we reported to authorities. By January 20, we restructured the project, ensuring transparency. The setback taught me to tighten oversight, and we launched an audit system for all foundation projects. Meanwhile, in Australia, Sofia's Roots faced resistance. On January 15, at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Olivia Harper reported community concerns about outsiders running the program. I visited Adelaide on January 25, meeting Indigenous leaders. By listening and adjusting our approach to include local elders, we rebuilt trust, and the program thrived. March 2033, Tokyo Triumph. The Tokyo exhibition opened on March 5, 2033, at 6 p.m. Japan Standard Time. The Sofia Art Haven's artists dazzled, and our wine tasting drew 300 guests, including Hiroshi Kato's clients. Aiko's gallery became a partner, planning annual exchanges. The success felt like Sofia's smile from afar. But back in Portugal, on March 10, at 8 a.m. Western European Time, Beatriz uncovered a new plot. A hacker group, traced to Madrid, had targeted our financial systems again. The attack failed, but logs showed a connection to Carla Ortiz, the blogger from 2030. She'd been paid by an unknown source, likely my parents. Beatriz reported it to Interpol, but I focused on fortifying our cybersecurity. August 2033, a legacy defined. On August 26, 2033, at 7 p.m. Western European Time, I hosted a festival at Vinha Sofia. Elena, now recovered, stood beside me as we welcomed 1,000 guests. Amara, Luca, Aiko, and Olivia attended, toasting to our shared vision. The Sophia's Light Foundation now operated in 10 countries, Sophia's roots in 5, and the Sophia Art Haven was a global name. My parents' shadow had faded, their influence nullified by my life's work. As fireworks lit the Douro sky, I felt Sophia's presence. My revenge was living fully, building a legacy of love, resilience, and impact. I was Clara Mendez, and this was my triumph. Threads of Purpose. August 2033, a moment of reflection. On August 26, 2033, at 9 p.m. Western European Time, the Douro Valley sparkled under a canopy of stars. I, Clara Mendez, stood amidst the revelry of Vinha Sofia's annual festival, the vineyard alive with 1,000 guests celebrating our latest triumphs. The Sophia's Light Foundation now supported education and sustainability in 10 countries, Sophia's Roots empowered youths in 5, and the Sophia Art Haven in Porto had just concluded a successful Tokyo exhibition. My partners, Amara Ndlovu from South Africa, Luca Bianchi from Italy, Aiko Tanaka from Japan, and Olivia Harper from Australia, joined me, their presence a testament to the global reach of Aunt Sophia's legacy. Elena Vargas, my aunt from Seville, now a permanent resident of the vineyard, smiled beside me, her health restored after last year's scare. As fireworks burst over the Douro River, I felt a quiet pride. My parents, Mariana and Tomas Almeida, and cousin Leandro were distant memories, their schemes powerless against the life I'd built. Yet, at 11 p.m. Western European Time, as I retreated to my cottage, a familiar unease stirred. Success had made Vinha Sofia a beacon, but beacons attract storms. Beatriz Costa, my lawyer and confidant, had warned me, the higher you climb, Clara, the more they'll try to pull you down. Her words echoed as I prepared for the next chapter. September 2033, a new frontier. On September 10, 2033, at 10 a.m. Western European Time, an email arrived from Priya Sharma, a social entrepreneur in Mumbai, India. She'd read about Sophia's Light and proposed a partnership to fund vocational training for women in rural Maharashtra. The idea aligned with Sophia's vision, but India's complex bureaucracy and cultural nuances posed challenges. I consulted Beatriz and Elena over lunch at the vineyard on September 12, at 1 p.m. Western European Time. It's a risk, Beatriz said, but Sophia took risks for you. Elena nodded. You've got the instincts, Clara. Trust them. I flew to Mumbai on September 20th, arriving at 8 a.m. IST. Priya, warm and determined, showed me her community center, where women learned skills like textile weaving. On September 22nd, at 3 p.m. IST, we signed a deal to fund 100 scholarships through Sophia's Light. The project felt like a new thread in Sophia's tapestry, but I sensed challenges ahead. India was vast, and my team was stretched thin. October 2033, a storm brews. Back in Portugal, trouble surfaced. On October 5, 2033, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, Ines Silva reported a cyber attack on Vinha Sofia's website. Customer data was safe, but the site was down for 12 hours, costing €15,000 in sales. Beatriz's cybersecurity team traced the attack to a server in Barcelona. On October 8, at 11 a.m. Western European Time, they identified the culprit, a hacker named Mateo Ruiz, linked to Carla Ortiz, the Madrid blogger who'd smeared us in 2030. Mateo's emails mentioned a client in Malaga, pointing to my parents. The attack wasn't just financial, it was personal. On October 10th, at 2 p.m. Western European Time, I met with Beatriz and our IT lead, João Mendes, in Porto. We upgraded our systems and filed a report with Interpol. To counter the damage, I launched a social media campaign on October 15th, at 4 p.m. Western European Time, sharing our recovery and commitment to transparency. Customers responded with support, and sales rebounded by October 20th. November 2033, a personal crossroads. On November 3, 2033, at 7 a.m. Western European Time, I received a call from Aiko Tanaka in Tokyo. She'd been offered a grant to expand our cultural exchange but needed me in Japan for a meeting on November 10, at 1 p.m. Japan Standard Time. The timing was tough. Elena's health required regular checkups, and the India project demanded oversight. I confided in Ines over coffee on November 5, at 10 a.m. Western European Time. "You're carrying too much, Clara," she said. "Delegate or you'll burn out." She was right. I promoted Miguel Santos to director of Sophia's Roots on November 7, giving him autonomy over Portugal and Australia. I hired a Mumbai-based coordinator, Anjali Desai, for the India project. On November 10, in Tokyo, I secured the grant with Aiko, ensuring annual exchanges between Porto and Japan. At 8 p.m. Japan Standard Time, we celebrated at a sake bar, but I felt a pang of exhaustion. Sophia's legacy was thriving, but was I? January 2034, a new betrayal. On January 15, 2034, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, Beatriz uncovered a plot. A former Sophia's Roots trainee, Diogo Ferreira, had leaked internal documents to Vinhos Norte, the Porto competitor from 2032. Diogo, now working for Rafael Gomez, claimed our training methods were stolen. The accusation was false, but it fueled a new smear campaign on X, amplified by Carla Ortiz. Beatriz traced Diogo's funding to a Malaga account, suggesting my parents' involvement. On January 20, at 11 a.m. Western European Time, I confronted Diogo at a neutral cafe in Lisbon. He admitted Rafael paid him €5,000 to betray us, driven by jealousy of our success. I fired him and filed a lawsuit against Vinhos Norte. On January 25, at 2 p.m. Western European Time, we released a statement detailing our original methods, backed by Sophia's journals from 2010. The public rallied behind us, and Vinhos Norte's reputation suffered. March 2034, Global Growth. By March 2034, Sophia's Light was thriving. The India project trained 200 women, and we launched a solar energy initiative in South Africa with Amaran Lovu. On March 10, at 3 p.m. South Africa Standard Time, I visited Stellenbosch, where our Sophia e Amara vintage won another award. In Italy, Luce e Sofia was a hit, and Luca Bianchi proposed a vineyard exchange program for young winemakers. On March 15, at 4 p.m. Central European Time, we signed the deal in Florence. But on March 20, at 8 a.m. Western European Time, a letter arrived from Malaga. It was from Tomas, claiming he was dying and begging to see me. Elena urged caution, but I sent a social worker to verify. On March 25, they confirmed Tomas had cancer, and Mariana was caring for him. I sent medical aid through a charity but refused contact. It was closure, not forgiveness. August 2034, a legacy woven. On August 26, 2034, at 7 p.m. Western European Time, I hosted a global summit at Vinha Sofia. Partners from Japan, South Africa, Italy, Australia, and India joined 2,000 guests. Sophia's Roots now operated in 7 countries, Sophia's Light in 15, and the Sophia Art Haven was planning a New York exhibition for 2035. My parents' shadow was gone, their influence erased by my work. As I stood with Elena, Beatriz, Ines, and Miguel, toasting to Sofia, I felt her presence. My revenge was a life of purpose, woven from love, resilience, and impact. I was Clara Mendez, and this was my legacy. Peace over vengeance. August 2034, the horizon ahead. On August 26, 2034, at 8 p.m. Western European Time, the Douro Valley hummed with life as Vinha Sofia hosted its global summit. I, Clara Mendez, stood in the vineyard's tasting room, surrounded by 2,000 guests from Japan, South Africa, Italy, Australia, India, and beyond. The Sofia's Light Foundation now supported 15 countries, funding schools, clean water, and solar projects. Sofia's roots trained youths in 7 nations, and the Sofia Art Haven in Porto was preparing a New York exhibition for 2035. My partners, Amara Ndlovu, Luca Bianchi, Aiko Tanaka, Olivia Harper, and Priya Sharma, raised glasses to Aunt Sofia's vision. Elena Vargas, my aunt from Seville, stood beside me, her heart condition managed, her presence a quiet strength. Beatriz Costa, my lawyer and friend, smiled knowingly. Ines Silva and Miguel Santos, pillars of my team, oversaw the celebration. The fireworks over the Douro River lit the night, but my heart was heavy. My parents, Mariana and Tomas Almeida, and cousin Leandro had faded, their schemes, lawsuits, cyber attacks, smears, buried by court rulings and their own failures. Yet, their shadow lingered. Tomas's letter in March, claiming illness, had stirred old wounds. I'd sent aid but refused contact, seeking closure. As the summit ended at 11 p.m. Western European Time, I retreated to my cottage, wondering if true peace was possible while they still watched from Malaga. September 2034, a final ploy. On September 5, 2034, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, Beatriz called with urgent news. A Lisbon tabloid, Voz do Norte, published an article alleging Vinha Sofia had bribed officials to secure export licenses. The source? An anonymous whistleblower from Malaga. Beatriz's investigator traced it to Carla Ortiz, the blogger tied to my parents since 2030. On September 7, at 11 a.m. Western European Time, we confirmed Mariana had met the tabloid's editor, Sofia Lopez, in Madrid, offering evidence for €10,000. It was their boldest move yet, a desperate attempt to tarnish my name. I acted swiftly. On September 10, at 2 p.m. Western European Time, we held a press conference in Porto, presenting our transparent licensing records. Beatriz filed a defamation lawsuit against Voz do Norte and Carla. By September 15, Interpol arrested Carla in Madrid for fraud, her emails revealing Mariana and Tomas as funders. The tabloid retracted the story on September 20, but the damage was done. Rumors spread on X, questioning my integrity. October 2034, the last confrontation. On October 3, 2034, at 10 a.m. Western European Time, a letter arrived from Mariana. It was raw, unpolished, written from Malaga. Clara. Tomas is gone. He passed last month. I'm alone, broke, and sorry. I know we hurt you. I want to see you, to explain. Please. Mariana. I sat with Elena and Beatriz at the vineyard, the letter between us. Elena's eyes softened. She's your mother, Clara, but she's also a manipulator. Beatriz was firm, verify it first. A social worker in Malaga confirmed Tomas's death on September 1, 2034, from cancer. Mariana was living in a shelter, her health frail. I felt no joy, only a hollow ache. On October 10, at 1 p.m. Western European Time, I arranged a video call with Mariana, Beatriz monitoring from Coimbra. Mariana's face, lined and tired, appeared on screen at 2 p.m. Central European Time. She wept, recounting years of regret, blaming Tomas for their schemes. I listened, heart heavy but guarded. I've built a life without you, I said. Your actions lost you that place. I forgive you, but I can't trust you. I offered to fund her care through a charity, but no more. The call ended at 2:30 p.m. Central European Time, and I felt a weight lift, not from love, but from letting go. November 2034, Rebuilding Trust. The tabloid scandal lingered. On November 5th, at 3 p.m. Western European Time, I launched a global campaign, Sophia's Truth, sharing our journey on X and other platforms. I posted videos of Sophia's Roots trainees, foundation projects, and Art Haven events, inviting the world to see our work. By November 15th, support flooded in, orders for Vinha Sophia wines hit €2 million, and donations to Sophia's Light soared. Aiko in Tokyo, at 7 a.m. Japan Standard Time on November 20th, reported record interest in our cultural exchange. Amara, in Stellenbosch at 2 p.m. South Africa Standard Time, confirmed new partnerships. The world saw through the lies. Leandro surfaced on November 25th, at 10 a.m. Western European Time, emailing from Lisbon. He claimed reform, asking to join Sophia's Roots. Beatrice's checks revealed he'd been released from community service but had no ties to Mariana. I met him on November 30th, at 1 p.m. Western European Time, in a Porto cafe, with Miguel present. Leandro apologized, citing desperation. I offered him a supervised role in Faro, far from the vineyard. He accepted, and I hoped, cautiously, for his change. March 2035, a global legacy. By March 2035, Vinha Sophia was a household name. On March 10th, at 4 p.m. Western European Time, we launched a new vintage with Priya Sharma in Mumbai, blending Portuguese and Indian grapes. The Sophia's Light Foundation funded 20 new projects, including a school in rural Japan. On March 15th, at 8 a.m. Japan Standard Time, Aiko opened a second art haven in Tokyo. Luca's exchange program in Italy trained 50 winemakers, and Olivia's Australian branch of Sophia's Roots grew to 100 trainees. On March 20th, at 9 a.m. Western European Time, I received news: Mariana had passed in Malaga, her health failing. I sent flowers through the charity, a final gesture. Leandro, monitored in Faro, showed progress, but I kept my distance. My revenge wasn't their downfall, it was my rise. August 2035, the final piece. On August 26, 2035, at 7 p.m. Western European Time, I stood in Vinha Sophia's vineyard, now spanning 200 hectares. The New York exhibition, launched July 1st, had drawn 10,000 visitors. Sophia's Roots operated in 10 countries, Sophia's Light in 20. My family, Elena, Beatriz, Ines, Miguel, Amara, Luca, Aiko, Priya, Olivia, was global, bound by purpose. As the sun set, I walked to Sophia's old oak tree, where she'd taught me resilience. My parents' greed, Leandro's betrayal, their schemes, they were dust against my life's work. My revenge was complete, not in their ruin, but in my peace, my impact, my love. I was Clara Mendez, Sophia's heir, and this was my eternal triumph. Subscribe for more stories, tales of retribution. Thanks.